This question brings us back to the front of the passage for some reason. I don't really know why they broke the chronology rule. I talked a little bit about that in question number 6. But it doesn't really affect our way of answering number 7. It's a line reference question. We have a clear instruction about where to read. And when we do this, I'm going to show you, one of the most important things to do when you're doing process of elimination. Because what we think about with that strategy is that we just kind of eliminate wrong answers. And yes, that's what it is. But there is a process to this. The process part is just as important as the elimination part. And what we really need to make sure we do is that we stick to that process, no matter how tempting some of these words and choices may be. So the choices are short, but we still need to treat them like they're composed of littler choices inside. And one of the most helpful ways that we can do this is by turning the choices into questions. If we can't answer the question, that's not a good thing for the choice, not a good thing for the words in the choice. So let's see how that would work, right? So we look at the paragraph here. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been more receptive? We could read a little later, too, if we want some context. He came on a winter's eve. He pounded on the door. Okay, fine. So you think it describes a culture because it talks about a tradition, right? Well, then turn that into a question. What is the culture? Japan? And we get that from the blurb. But okay, what is the description of it? Talk to me about Japan. If you can't describe Japan based on this paragraph, then it is not a description of a culture, right? So maybe this word culture works because we can get the context, but a description better give me some details here. And what do I get? That like he's breaking a tradition? This is one person. I'm not getting a whole big cultural thing here. Let's talk about B, right? Criticize a tradition. What's the tradition? Well, using a go-between seems to be the tradition. So that checks out. And this is how process elimination works. We can check off some parts of choices. Then we use questions to kind of really test all the others. So do they criticize it? Well, what's the criticism? What's the criticism of that tradition? What's the criticism of a go-between? I don't have one. He's not using the tradition, he's breaking it, but I don't know what his reasons are, and I don't see a criticism of it. He's not saying that he doesn't like the tradition, it just says that he's breaking it. So this word is a problem. Let's see. Choice C. Question a suggestion. Well, what's the suggestion? That he use a go-between? This word's the problem this time. I don't know what the suggestion is. I mean, he looks like there's a question, but did someone suggest that he use a go-between? I don't see that in the lines, so this is a problem. Analyze a reaction. Well, what's the reaction? Well, her receptiveness. Let's try to change color here, actually. Let's do it more clearly, right? What is her reaction? Well, is she receptive to him? It's implied here that she seems not to be receptive, right? Would she have been more receptive, right? So it seems like there's a degree of, maybe she could have been differently receptive. So, okay, that's the reaction. And are they analyzing it? It's not a lot of text to go on. But yeah, they're analyzing, like he's saying, well, what had happened if I had done it differently, right? Maybe she would have reacted differently. So it's a little bit of an analysis. It's as much of an analysis as we're going to get in these lines. But at least, even if I don't get like a satisfactory answer to those questions that I asked myself, I at least have an answer. And a lot of times with reading, that's the best we can do. We might not get an answer that we would like or that our teachers would give us a good grade for, but we're able to kind of find something in the lines to answer these questions that we invent for ourselves. And that's really what we're up against. When you do process of elimination, we're trying to test the choices and make sure the lines reflect the choice. And the SAT is good at throwing us these little distractor choices, but by turning it into a question, we remove our own bias and really get to analyze the lines themselves. If we can't point to something in the lines that answers the questions, it's not a good sign. Sometimes we have to guess still, but it's not a good sign. And doing that here on these short choices can be really helpful for when it gets a little bit longer and there's more stuff to sort through. The same process is going to help us. break it down in little bits, ask different questions, try to point to something in the lines to back it up.